Maud, let's get started. Today, Canada is one of the most sophisticated payments markets in the world. Canadians spend on average about 12% of personal consumer expenditure is on cash and check, and about 71% is spent on credit and debit cards. And as a result of this cashless nature, Canada has received accolades from Visa's Cashless Cities report, and as well as Forex for its global standing. And so today I'm going to talk about what is it that's making Canada so cashless, how this race to cashless will continue with global trends, and then how do we as industry participants do it right for the consumer. So today in Canada, about 52% of point-of-sale transactions are contactless, with Canadians tapping. And that makes Canada one of the biggest countries in the world for tapping. We're ranked about 5th. Oh, sorry. And mobile wallet usage has gone up about 125% year over year. And while the overall level of mobile wallet usage is still low at just over 2%, as we use our phone more and more value-added services are put on the phone, such as RBC's recent announcement of pay with points using Samsung Pay or Apple Pay, this number will go up. And then Canadians are increasingly turning to the offline channels for purchases, with offline purchases exceeding face-to-face by about 3 times. And what's interesting to note, and for those of you with children, you'll be familiar with this, the fastest growing e-commerce segment is recurring payments or subscription-based services such as gaming, music, Netflix, and telecom. And so that's the biggest growing. And you know, transit is really going to accelerate our shift to cashless. And at Visa, we're very excited to announce this month a partnership with Vancouver for open payments. And what does this mean? It means that a consumer can use their Visa credit card or Visa debit and credit card in a mobile wallet to tap on or tap off a bus, a ferry, a subway, a train. And they don't have to fumble for change, they don't have to stand in line for a ticket, and they don't have to reload a reloadable card. And so this is a big shift in the customer experience. And what we found is what's exciting about transit is that it impacts the whole ecosystem. And so what we found in London is that when we introduced contactless for transit in London, is that ticketing costs went down by 33%. Contactless volume in the UK went up by 82%, and there was a 5 times increase in contactless usage. And so the whole ecosystem benefits. And we at Visa are working with a lot of cities across Canada to also put them on similar technology, and we'll start to see that over the next couple of years. And the emergence of faster payments. You know, in Canada, we have to give Intrac a lot of credit for all of their innovations and continuous innovations of e-transfer. They've gone a long way to making us a digital country. And obviously, the Payments Canada Modernization Initiative is going to take that a step further. But today, disbursements represent a $1 trillion opportunity. Businesses are still using EFT or check for disbursements to consumers or other businesses. And so we're very, very excited to announce, in partnership with TELUS Health and People's Payment Solutions, an opportunity to change this. And what we're doing with them is they'll be introducing faster payments for healthcare practitioners and consumers. And this will significantly speed up funds distributions for patients, for example, who are submitting a health claim. They can have it instantly reimbursed versus having to wait weeks or days to have it reimbursed. We also just recently announced a partnership with PayPal using the similar Visa Direct rails. And what this will enable is a consumer to pay in and pay out of their PayPal digital wallet using the Visa Direct rails instantaneously. So things like this will go a long way to accelerating cashless in Canada. And what we found in the US is the speed of faster payments to scale. So for example, if you look at Lyft in the United States, 50% of drivers are pressing Express Pay at the end of the day to get their funds immediately paid into their Visa debit-linked deposit account. And similarly in Uber, the first year we launched with Uber, we saw $1.3 billion in payouts through the InstaPay Visa Direct to Debit button. And so huge speed to scale. So these are a few of the things that are going on in Canada, but there are big global trends that are also going to increase the speed at which we go to cashless. One is around everything as a point of sale. You know, the days of having a single purpose terminal are really coming to an end because software can turn almost anything into a point of sale device, from your mobile phone to the watch on your wrist. And the cost of acceptance is dramatically dropping. The cost of acceptance can be 65 to 100% cheaper than your traditional hardware point of sale device. And then actually the software is going from weeks and days down to minutes. And so for instance, earlier this year, Square announced a PIN on mobile device whereby you can enter your PIN directly into a merchant's mobile phone. And they also launched another device for tap that can be purchased for as low as $50 to $60 in many stores that we shop at today. So all merchants can really become providers of digital payments. And the rise of the super app. Today we use multiple apps to do things, to order a taxi, to check on our children's team game scores, to look up our calendar. Many of us probably have about 100 apps on our phone. But the act of going from app to app to app is a friction. And you know, it's on this dimension that the West is really learning from the East. And in China and in the East, what you'll find is these messaging platforms are really the dominant apps. And they have everything that you need to do embedded in the apps. And you can do everything without having to leave it. And so if you take the greatest super app, for example, WeChat. With WeChat, you can book a restaurant reservation, you can get directions, you can order a cab ride, you can pay for the meal, you can split it with your friends, you can buy a movie ticket, you can, and so forth. And you can do it all within the app. And so as we do more and more and more in this app environment, we'll again continue to accelerate our move to cashless. I think the most exciting thing is the data and what it's doing to us as consumers and how it will change our experiences. The days of standing in queues to get a coffee or to buy something are really coming to an end. You know, order ahead apps with integrated payments, your integrated loyalty, and your integrated personal experiences are really changing our expectations, and those are really becoming commonplace. Today, there's a huge explosion of data, unlike what we've ever seen before. Today, there are 4 billion zettabytes of data. That's equivalent to about 1 trillion DVDs. And 90% of this data has come available just in the last 2 years, and much of it is linked to an IP address. And what this data is enabling us to do is prediction and pattern analysis. And you know, I'll take a typical day for me. I wake up and I go to work. And when I get to the garage, I press 6 buttons exactly to order a coffee. And I know it's going to take a while, so I go pick up my muffin, and then I go pick up my coffee. But with data, the coffee shop, in this case Starbucks, can recognize that I'm going to follow the pattern I do every day when I turn on King Street. And so once I turn on King Street, they can start to get my coffee ready, and then I can go pick up my coffee at Starbucks, and I can go get my muffin at McEwen's and go through a completely frictionless experience. And we at Visa are currently working with merchants to provide customers with experiences exactly like that. And artificial intelligence and data is also enabling this further conversion from traditional segments to digital segments. And if I'll talk about China as we must. China really leads the world in unmanned stores. And they have multiple formats for unmanned stores, but I'm going to use one example being Bingo Box. So Bingo Box is a store format. There's about 400 to 800 items in the store. And they're located, there's about 300 of them located in 30 cities across China. And what you do is you can put all the things you want to buy onto the counter. It automatically calculates the purchase price you have to pay. You pay with a mobile app with your embedded credentials. And the door won't open for you to leave the store before there's sort of a smart calculation to make sure that you've actually paid for the items in your bag. And the amount of time that it takes to complete a transaction is about 1 second versus 8.6 seconds on average for a manual transaction. So, and we're all familiar with Amazon Go, but more and more and more we'll see these digital models evolve. And connected devices will increasingly become the conduit for commerce in the future. Today we have a number of smart and less smart devices in our home that we use to simplify our life. They range from the Amazon dash button that we have to manually press to order something, to sensors that can predict when we're running out of a printer on our printer ink on our printer, or washing machine detergent on our washing machine. But more and more and more, we'll have a common network with these devices speaking to one another and enabling information exchange. And increasingly, Amazon Alexa, Google Home, and Apple Siri, we're using these in our day-to-day life. And over the next 3 to 5 years, these will really become commonplace. And in the US today, it's interesting to note that nearly half of the homes that have these devices are already using them to shop and make purchases. And so they will continue to become a major driver of commerce in the future. And what I'm really excited about is around co-creation. Co-creation enables innovation and scale like we've never seen before, and that's enabled through APIs. And co-creation is really the ability of many brands to come together to satisfy the needs of a customer. And it's APIs that enable this co-creation to make it possible, so that you can plug into and build from one another's innovations. So I'll use Honda as an example. Visa's working with Honda to create a connected car experience. And what we're building with Honda is the ability to say, find me parking. Because in any big city, parking is a major irritant. We're also working with them on gas as well, so that you automatically find a gas station, you automatically have your pump reserved, and it's automatically paid for. So with parking, you go to your parking spot, it's already held for you, it already is paid through your embedded payment credentials. And all of these things, Honda in and of itself wouldn't have been able to do on its own. It's leveraging APIs like biometrics, payment credentials, geolocation, to create this great experience for customers. So it's no longer necessary to own the whole value chain. Companies can focus on one link and then work with others to build a distinctive customer experience and scale. And so going to cashless requires us to get a number of things right. So over our 60-year history, we've worked really, really hard to bring fraud rates down. And right now, fraud rates are just a fraction of 1%. And so that's very good. And technology and the global adoption of chip have played a huge role in that. However, we're starting to see the impact of data compromises. And this move to digital is really serving up data on a silver plate. And this resulting fraud threatens all of the great work we've been doing to reduce fraud. And we're starting to see upticks in card-not-present fraud. And if you think about it, the challenges are not that surprising. If you look at the scale of compromised records, there were nearly 3 billion records compromised just in the last year. So I guess what I'm trying to say is more data, more problems. And data solutions will be the key to navigating the storm ahead. And this is a priority that we take very, very seriously at Visa. And there are critical components for organizations to get it right. We must protect our data so that they cannot get it. Encryption and using PCI standards are key to making this happen. We must devalue data so that criminals can't use it if it gets into their hands. We must harness data to stop fraud before it occurs. And we must empower consumers because consumers, research has found, are the most underutilized people in actually detecting fraud. And yet, let's face it, no one knows better than the actual consumer whether a fraud has in fact happened or not. And as Canada, we need to continue to make sure that lagging industries continue to accept digital payments. And examples include taxes, property management, healthcare, and unattended spaces. And we must continue to evolve these. So lastly, this truly transformational phenomenon that's happening to us as consumers is this huge wave of connectivity that we're experiencing. Everything in our lives, our homes, our cars, the restaurants we eat in, the taxis we drive in, they're all being connected. And by reasonable estimates, there's billions of connected devices out there, and there'll be tens of billions soon. And at Visa, we're actively working to embed Visa payment credentials into every one of these connected devices. And quite simply, our goal is to enable each and every connected device to be a safe, simple, and easy way to pay or be paid. We're down a path right now to move from a network with 3 billion cards and 46 million merchants to one that's 10 times this size. So as I turn it back to Canada, we're in a great spot. And with the evolution of Canadian behavior, the innovation led by Canadian technology companies and leaders, and the Canadian Payments Modernization Initiative, Canada is well on its way to being a leader on the global stage. Okay, Maud, that's it.